Welcome to Chapter 12, Politics. In this chapter, we're exploring how gender and power intersect in political life, from voting rights and representation to social movements and resistance. Politics, at its core, is about how societies make decisions, who gets to decide, whose voices are heard, and whose needs are prioritized. We often think of politics as something distant, but it shapes our daily lives, our workplaces, families, bodies, and rights. Suffrage means the right to vote, and the fight for women's suffrage was one of the most important gendered political struggles in history. Many suffragists began as abolitionists working to end slavery before turning their attention to women's rights. They made what was, at the time, a radical claim that women should have full citizenship, including the vote. Over time, those once radical ideas became universal suffrage, the belief that all citizens, regardless of gender or race, should be able to vote. Politics then isn't just about parties or elections, it's about who gets to define equality and how change happens or is resisted. The politics of gender examines how people both uphold and challenge the gender order. Some movements push for transformation, like intersectional feminist politics, which fights not only sexism but also racism, class inequality, heterosexism, and other interconnected forms of oppression. Others push back, engaging in anti feminist politics, which aim to preserve traditional gender hierarchies. Feminists often imagine what we call a feminist utopia, a perfectly gender egalitarian society. While no such society yet exists, envisioning it helps guide progress toward more equitable systems. The state plays a huge role in how gender is regulated. States hold collective power to shape laws, policies, and norms. This is what we mean by governance. Through the governance of gender, states create distinctions that determine who can do what, who is protected, and who is left out. For example, some governments promote pronatal policies, encouraging childbearing through tax breaks or benefits, while others use antenatal policies to discourage it. Feminist activists argue that true reproductive justice means having access to the full range of rights and resources to decide whether, when, and how to have and raise children. Gender aware policymaking considers how laws affect people differently based on gender, race, class, and other social factors. It's about moving beyond one size fits all solutions to create equity in practice, not just in theory. There are also three main models of theorizing gender equality. The equal access approach focuses on dismantling legal barriers and discrimination. The equal value model challenges androcentrism by raising the value of femininity to match that of masculinity. And equal sharing seeks a true balance, ensuring men and women participate equally in all spheres, both public and private. Who governs also matters. The gender of governance looks at who holds political office and how that affects policy. Having women in leadership isn't just symbolic, though symbolic representation matters because it reflects equality in citizenship. What's even more powerful is substantive representation. When women leaders advocate for and pass policies that directly improve women's lives, yet politics remains deeply gendered, women and gender minorities continue to face barriers to leadership. And even in democracies, representation often lags far behind population equality. In the US, this has contributed to gendered party polarization, a growing divide where men and women align with different political parties, especially on gender related issues. The partisan gender gap shows that women tend to support social programs and equality measures more strongly than men. Meanwhile, culture wars, deliberate political strategies that divide Americans over gender and identity, have made these differences feel even sharper. Globally, we're also seeing a rise in authoritarian nationalism, governments that claim to defend traditional values while rolling back gender and reproductive rights. Nationalism promotes exclusion, defining belonging by race, religion, or ethnicity, while authoritarianism strips away democratic accountability. These movements often use gender politics to reassert control, presenting patriarchy as patriotism. But power doesn't only come from above, it also comes from below through social movements. Social movements are collective efforts to change society, organized by everyday people outside the government. They remind us that progress has always come from voices that refuse to be silent. Women's movements, for example, have existed for generations, pushing for suffrage, labor rights, reproductive freedom, and more. Today, feminist social movements continue that work, but with a more intersectional lens, linking gender justice to racial justice, environmental justice, and economic equality. Each new generation of activists builds on the work of those before them. Feminist politics continues to evolve, not just demanding inclusion, but imagining whole new ways of organizing power and care. Politics isn't only about governments or elections, it's about the ongoing question of who counts, whose voices are heard, and what kind of future we're building together. And that's what makes it such a powerful part of understanding gender, because every step toward equality is, at its core, political.